Okay, yeah, man. This might be what it do. We'll see what happens. If not, guess what I'm doing? I'm gonna record live on Anchor FM so they can get some of this good Colombian game that you have. When I- when I
Yeah.
when I say that, people are gonna be like, "Hey, he's really from Colombia. Look at him."
No,
You,
man.
you know.
Far from that, bro.
eh,
There's some feedback on our line, though.
Oh, really? I hear you fine. So that's interesting. So is it any better now?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right, tell me if it's bothersome, because I know how that can be. But like for you being in Colombia, you sound great.
Yeah.
And for me being I'm in Okanda right now, so I know sometimes we get low on vibranium.
Yeah.
Is that any better?
Yeah, but I'm trying to get. Let me see if my headphones. It's so dark. I gotta lean back like this, man.
Oh,
It's 1 a.m. in the morning, so I'm relaxing, man.
okay, nah, you're good, brother. You're good, man. We were talking about everybody. This is Islam from Colombia, an American who ditched America like what was it, 5 years ago, and he hasn't
6 years now.
6 years hasn't looked back. And he was talking about how you know his whole plans to get out of the country, how he's tried to bring others. I don't want to throw out the people you said you tried to work with.
No.
There's no names, but they were close friends and family. And Islam, you were saying how you bought some land in Belize, and
Oh yeah,
pretty
man.
much
I bought
everybody was
some
scared.
land. Oh man, they were really scared, man. They were like, no, we're gonna stay here, and I was just like, it's a good opportunity, good investment opportunity. It's you got to have, different ways of making money, especially in the economy. I have bought the land, put the money down. Hey guys, make a resort, just right there on the Belize River, and I mean, the good thing about buying property overseas is like it's not. It's kind of a little complicated, but it's not that that a normal person can't do it. Um, but and it's cheaper too, man. 'Cause you can talk my currency and all that stuff.
Can you
But yeah, we're gonna do a resort or a hostel or something right there on the river. What's up?
you said cheaper just because you brought up money? Can you talk about just the range it was in? Because somebody will say,
Oh,
yeah, some people
oh,
will say
two lots.
I don't have $100,000, so that's not cheap to me. So
No, it was like no. I think well, the way it worked is like you pay to the developer. So like you pay like two lots, 40,000. But you pay. I mean, once you pay, I think we put like $10,000 down, and then you pay. I think it's like maybe $230 a month. I mean, it was nothing, man. You
okay,
know.
so let's break that down for those. There's some, a lot of people, and I'll say this especially true for black folks in America, will say you say 40,000, they even jump, right? But you say you put 10,000 down and then you pay 237. So it sounds like you bought a Lexus in America. It's easy for somebody to buy a Lexus doing that. That makes sense to them. But you start talking about land and development, and oh, that's a lot of money. Like, get out of here, man. Your Lexus,
Uh,
your Maserati, the old one, costs more than that. So,
and if you add up how many times you take the girl out, on Fridays, that could add up to, how many times you go to the club, you know,
yeah.
that could, the little things that we spend, money on, and we just redirect some of that cash, you'd be surprised how far that can take us, you know.
Okay, and I just want to give a warning. Everybody who does not like real talk, just tune out right now because something about like I really like Islam, how he's left America and hasn't ran back. I mean, he could always come back home. He's former military, so he's welcome to come home anytime he chooses not to be for the opportunities he gets. But it's something about his story that brings out, I think, sometimes the best in me because it's the adventurer, but no excuses. And Islam knows I don't have any excuses, but $40,000 for you to get two lots.
Two
And
lots. Yeah.
how okay, and those lots, are they the same type of like lots in America where you're like I can build a house on it, or
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you can
okay.
build a house. I mean, at that time, you could build a house and right by the Belize River, man. Right by the Belize River. And then you're right on the river, and that's, I mean, you can get those kind of deals all through Central and South America, depending on where you go. I mean, that's not, that's not hard to find, man. Right by the water or in the mountains or what's the houses across the street from where I live at? The houses across the street from where I live at. I mean, you can rent a two-bedroom, no, three-bedroom, two-bath house with a garage and a courtyard in it, like 550 a month, man. And a fireplace downstairs, modern kitchen, modern everything, and that's considered like upper class. They're right down the street. There's mansions, man. You're gonna pay for that. You're gonna pay for that. You're gonna pay some cat, maybe $400,000 or $500,000, 600,000 easy over there. I mean, they even have some $1 million, but $1 billion home here and $1 million home in the United States is $1 million home here. You're gonna get more. You're gonna get more value, hands up.
What do you think scared people that you knew away from that deal, and what scares Americans even sometimes to even pick up a passport, because we know 70% of Americans don't even have that. But what do you think scares people away to even just try?
To be honest, I think comfortability. They're comfortable, and I think the unknown. I think those two things are and they think that that's the only where the only place they can get a burger at, or drive a nice car at, or have a nice house. I mean, you have to understand that what happens in the U.S. is everything is so much marketed to us. The lifestyle is marketed to us 24 hours a day. It's in our culture. It's in the movies. It's everywhere. So people fall into that and not realizing that. Hold on for a second. Like how are other people living around the world? I mean, are they living in tents and I mean how are they living, and that they never quite look to discover how do other people live, and they just get caught up into this this attitude about how things are in our country. I mean, there's some good things. There's some good things about the U.S. I mean, there's some pros and cons, man. You have to choose what is where you can feel comfortable at. Like for me, like I don't really have a problem, man. Like I can leave whenever I want to leave. I can come back. I mean, I can, like you can. It's free, man. Like there's nobody, saying you have to be somewhere, anymore. I mean, that happened a long, long time ago. You don't have to, stay in a particular space anymore, a particular state anymore. You can, I mean, you're free. So act like it.
Yeah, yeah, and you're free like you did to learn a whole new language and
Yeah.
and a different culture. Can you talk about the freedom of I know when I leave the states, there's something that comes off of me that there's certain worries I don't have to worry about. Maybe the same threats could be around, but can you talk about if there's any like feeling that you get that if you were to come back to Atlanta or Georgia or wherever, you know,
Yeah.
what's is there any pressure that comes off of you when you are in Colombia or Belize or anywhere else?
Well, I mean, the last time I was in the U.S. was last year. I had to go to the VA hospital, and I remember, for example, in the U.S., everything is it feels different, man. people seem a little bit more. Mm, Things seem colder in the U.S., man. If that, I mean, but I was in Miami too, so that's a big city. But the thing is like it feels like things are more complicated there in the U.S. than they used to be. And
Okay,
also,
wait. You said complicated,
yeah.
and is it business and personal? Because business wise, people always say, "Okay, America, America," but
No, no, it just feels like people are more they're very short with each other. They're more short with each other. Like for example, you got to realize when I walk down the street, man, and everybody says good morning, how are you? Even in the elevator, man. I mean, people talk to each other in the elevator here. So
hmm
you got to understand that. I got used to that. So to me, it feels a little bit more colder in the U.S. as far as people's attitudes towards each other than it does, for example, where I am. People seem more friendly, man.
more friendly, and you're from the South, which, like me being from the West Coast, I definitely know the South. I love it because people at least will say hi to you and actually want to engage. But you being from the South, you even say the people are even more friendlier there, which some people would say, hey, that's too friendly. That's how cold some Americans could be. Like, you're talking in the elevator, especially in the Me Too movement, but they're more personable, where if you needed help, you feel probably you could get help easier. Is that
Oh
correct?
yeah, man, bro. Like when I first came here, I came here to be an entrepreneur. I came here to work, and be full time in what I'm building. Right. So like, people help me, man. I mean, like, there's no, I'm not. That's not a secret, man. Like people that I didn't even know, man. My neighbors, man. They helped. And that's something that it's. I mean, it's extraordinary, man. I'll give them that. Maybe Colombians for overall are pretty warm-hearted people, you know, and they seem to generally want to help the especially if you're a foreigner. So they're. I mean, like I remember I had dengue. I had dengue, which is like the sister, if I remember right, it's the sister of malaria. And I remember my neighbor who was Venezuelan. Uh, Man, she took care of me, man. She was an older lady. She took care of me. I couldn't even go to the store and get any food because I was so. I mean, like you get this thing called dengue. It's very hard to move, man. I don't know if you know what that is or not,
Yeah,
but
yeah, man. I just took my last typhoid and malaria pills because I ain't trying to catch nothing. I don't know what it feels like, but I'm familiar. But I take everything because I'm not. I'm trying to be up and about.
well,
Uh,
I'll say it like this: it's almost like a Japanese sumo wrestler is sitting on your is sitting on you, man. I mean, and you feel like you're so weak, man. You feel very weak, and you feel very, yeah, very tired. And your head is killing you, and I mean, it's hard. I mean, it's all kept from a little mosquito. And my neighbors all around took care of me, cooked for me, and everything, man.
for how
And
long?
oh man, I had that for like a week, man. I had it for a week,
Okay,
and
so for those who maybe have never traveled, his story is not a uncommon story. It's the same thing if your car was to be broken down, stuck in the mud, people gather around to help. And we're not saying that does never happen in America, but you can get shot in New York or Alabama, and it's been shown on YouTube. Sometimes, especially in New York, people will just they'll walk by, you get beat up. So that's beautiful to hear, and that's why a brother moves to Colombia and blends in. How long did it take you though to learn the language there?
oh man, the first things that came was you know the food in the bathroom, and the basics,
Yeah.
right? I had to get the basics there. And then what happened was, as I used to talk to a lot of girls, on getting to know them, dating a lot, and talking on WhatsApp, man. everything went through, writing on WhatsApp, right. So actually, I got really good at writing. I got really good at writing Spanish. And then, I used to wake up in the morning and my neighbors would be talking really loud. So I used to just lay in bed and I used to listen to them. And then, I started getting good at understanding what they were saying. So understanding came first. Writing came first, understanding came second, and then third came speaking. And now I'm actually, I'm almost, I guess, 70% fluent. It took to answer your question. It took a few years, man. It took it for me to get to this. I mean, I didn't study, man. I didn't go to school and study Spanish. I learned from talking and practicing and every day learning new words. It took me about 2 years, man. 2 to 3 years to start really um, knowing Spanish and being able to communicate, really communicate with people.
Okay, but you got it, and I've heard him speak to the people and read. He showed me a book. I said, "Let me get a copy of that," and he said, "Oh, this is in Spanish." I said, "Tu sabes? Hey, entiendes? Hey, but yeah, that's a beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and you talk about dating and how friendly the people were. Do you find that you get a um, different caliber of woman to date you there? And that's not just like a beauty question, because beautiful women doesn't necessarily mean beauty on the outside, beauty on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But do you find that even intellectuals, that someone who could be a lawyer or be rich out there by birth, do you find that those women are more inclined to talk to you versus being in America, where things are so cliquish sometimes in
Very
circles?
classism.
Yeah,
Yep.
classism. Now I'm old and married, and I don't have those issues, so can only ask someone like you. Like, do you
Uh-huh.
find that? I've been married for so long. I
That's a
wouldn't
good
I
thing.
wouldn't know. Plus, my life is kind of privileged, so it would be very biased to be like, oh, I can't speak on those things because I've been out the game too long. But as a single man who has your stuff together, what's your opinion on that?
No, it's easier. It's easier to approach a girl. She's walking to work. It's easy. I've done it many times before.
I bet you have.
Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, but here's the thing. It depends. It depends on. I mean, every culture has this. I mean, in Colombia, you got to realize that everything is sectioned off. I mean, like it's different cultures within the country, so that
Hmm.
means different rules when you're dating someone or trying to get to know them. Like for example, in Barranquilla, it's not so easy to approach somebody on the street. You have to have. It's more of a relationship thing. Like you have somebody has to present you. It's more formal. Here in Antioquia, I mean, girls are more open. It's easier to approach a girl off the street and that she's going to work or she's in the supermarket. It's much more easier, man. And I mean, sometimes I mean, there are people just like people in the United States, but I think the women here are more. They're more. Yeah, what's the word? I'm struggling to find the word. I guess feminine is the word. Would that be
Well,
a good word to use?
what
Or
do you
more
mean?
ladylike, or
Okay.
more. I mean, is that more traditional in some fashion, not all, not
Hmm.
all.
I mean, you're
And
gonna mess up on your words. For somebody out there, they're gonna say, whatever you say, it's gonna be wrong, and they're gonna say, I'm traditional, I'm this, I'm that. So we'll break it down to, you're so used to speaking Spanish nowadays that it is what it is. But if you feel that the women are more feminine, where here, I mean, I know you said last year you came to America, but it seems like now men, you see how they're trying to do Morgan Freeman, and there's nothing you really can say. you know Again, I don't have those issues because I don't have anything to say unless you have some pay. So and I'm
but no,
joking.
I mean, like for example, the women are they're very ladylike. They
Hmm.
like compliments. They like compliments. The thing is that I mean, it's just a culture, man. It's a Spanish culture. But the thing is that I do notice, like, they don't go out, most of them, without makeup on, or without, they have to dress a certain way. I mean, that's just like, I mean, on a Friday night, man, it's almost like going to like the Academy Awards, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, man. But they somehow, afford to look really nice, and that's down to usually in Poblado and Medellin, and I mean, like all over the country. They have to put makeup on, even if it's going to a family outing.
Well, Hispanic culture, beauty is, and beauty in every culture can be different, but beauty is, I mean, you watch, Univision, Sábado Gigante, and you can see, somebody in high heels doing the news, and you're like, come on, it's a little much. And I know a lot of women, get upset about that. Like, why are they doing all that? But the culture is what the culture is. But I tell people, the scriptures talk about how beauty fades on everyone. So find
That's right.
somebody who can, if you get hurt or get sick like you had, who wants to take care of you.
Yeah.
So that's what is beauty. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. They say that sounds better in Spanish and in French, though. That's for all the guys who really want to learn some game. You find, beauty. I can't think of it how it's said in Spanish, but it's so much more just romantic. um but you find the women to be more approachable. You find the business opportunities, are there more for you out there, especially now that you're bilingual, than there were when
Oh
you were in the
yeah, man.
States?
Oh yeah. It's much more easier to communicate with people, and I think that they respect and they honor me a little bit more because I speak Spanish, and I understand the culture more than what I did before.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot. I mean, Colombia. Let me put it like this: Colombian culture. A lot of people don't know this, but for example, on the coast, a lot of the people. I mean, it's mixed, but a lot like these people came from Lebanon, man, Lebanese. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
like for example, Shakira. Like I heard her parents are Lebanese. This is what I hear. But this is the thing. The Lebanese and then they mix with the Indians. They mix with the blacks from West Africa. So it's a lot of mixture. But when we think of as, for example, Spanish Colombian, what a regular person would think, is not necessarily what it is. I mean, for example, they have a mosque. They have a mosque in where is that? On the coast. On the coast, they have a mosque on the coast, man, in Colombia. I would have never imagined in 1,000 years of somebody. If I was sitting in the United States and somebody told me that, I was like, no, it's impossible. No, it's not possible. But here in Ethiopia, the ancestors are Jewish ancestry, which is very interesting. In here in Ethiopia. So I mean, it's amazing, man. And then you have a big African population in Choco and in Barranquilla and Cartagena. I mean, it's very diverse, man. It's not necessarily when you think of Colombia, it's not what you would normally think of a Latin American country being. I mean, from somebody sitting in America. I mean, it's not like you can open a book and they're gonna, in college, and they're gonna tell you all that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad to hear that the business opportunities have opened up, because I think a lot of times in the States, entrepreneurs want to start something and it's always a money thing. And for
Uh-huh.
me, I'm no excuses. There are no excuses. There's money out there. There's venture capital. There's angel
Uh,
investors, but it's what are you willing to do for it? And we've been able to tell, different people, nah, not ready. We're not ready. We don't want to settle for that, because sure, there's money out there, but is it good money? That Why did you start doing your business? You know what I mean? Like, someone
uh-huh.
could give you $1 billion today, and if all this thing was about money for you, that's great. But for our projects, this thing is bigger than it's legacy. It's when you're done that your project lives on with you and the next generation can pick it up. And that's big to us over here at Coleman PR and all the other ventures that we, find ourselves to get into. But do you find in Colombia that capital holds people back because you have your own business? And I want to tell people about Mango Bahia because it's a great, I think your company, and I do vegan reviews sometimes. There's
Uh,
not a vegan burger that I can buy in the store that I like yet. Yet. I haven't had
uh,
yours yet, and I would give you an honest review. But I did one today
okay.
on like the veggie boca chiclets. A lot of times
Uh,
the vegan meat is rubbery. You know,
yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
I test it. I air fry it, I oven it,
Uh,
I stove it, and I microwave all those things to see the different texture. I do everything. Sometimes I
uh,
deep fry, but I hate deep fry. But the
yeah.
fact that you're in that space right now, and I know people probably think you're crazy, especially your friends and family who know you and say, why doesn't he just give up on this thing?
Yeah.
Nobody's eating vegan burgers. But the day that you hit, they're all going to have to eat their words and eat your burger. And it's going to be like, okay, you're the man. And that's just human nature. And
What
yeah.
what what you just said about the Coleman PR. I mean
Mm-hmm.
that reminds me of what one of my favorite quotes was from Damon Dash, man.
Uh-huh.
You know when Damon Dash was on the radio show, man, he killed it, man. When he said I don't work for my first name, I work for my last name. Like that should be a national anthem of black people, man. That
Real
should be the
talk.
national anthem, man. You know, like that was like you know that one sentence, man. I mean, he should get Black Man of the Year, man.
You know what? I love Dame. I'm biased toward. I'm very biased towards Damon Dash. He just did something with a class that I'm a part of at Grambling State University because
Uh-huh.
one of the students is his cousin. So he did this thing, and it was beautiful. But everything Dame says to me, it makes sense. And until he starts talking about abuse of drugs, and I understand people have demons and they're trying to get away, right? But
Uh-huh.
I love what Dame says, because at the end of the day, his drug of choice, it's cannabis. He has different elements, whatnot he's talked about. But I love what Dame talks about on a business level. So yeah, for your last name, I think a lot of people, black people though, they don't respect their last name. Maybe because they didn't have a daddy, maybe
Yeah.
because of the history with slavery, and they haven't done enough research to see where their true roots are. Because what is in a name? You know what I mean? Like they could call you Kunta Kinte or Toby, but you are who you are. But a lot of us don't have enough on our last name because it's like, forget my daddy. He wasn't there. Even if you had a stepdaddy or you have the same last name as your mother,
Uh,
somebody worked for that name, and we don't honor that enough. I
well, I
think.
think I think what he was talking about is like I'm saying he's working for the next generation and the generation after that and the generation after that. I mean, it takes some time to build real wealth, man. I think it's somewhere around 30 some years. I read an article one time. It takes time, man, to build things, man. And it just makes sense from a logical point of view that that we practice. I think they call it what is it? A session? Is that what it is? Is that the word? That we practice that. I forget what the word is. It's 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah,
One
you
a.m. in
say
the
it in
morning.
Spanish probably better than English. But no, he was talking about the future for sure. But the future
Yeah,
has to start with you having pride in your name right now and
yeah,
what your name is. Like
yeah,
when you see brothers go to Islam, especially here in the States when they go to the nation, even if you give them an X, that's a high title. You just can't
yeah,
get X. You got to start off, everybody's Muhammad, right?
Yeah,
or something like that,
yeah,
or it seems. But even Muhammad has an honor to it more than to some people who would just be Williams or James, because all
yeah,
they've been taught is I was a slave from that name, but they
yeah,
don't know anything beyond that.
yeah.
You don't know, okay, I'm from West Africa, but what happened in West Africa that's so significant? But someone could find out, they were Mansa Musa's cousin, or descendant, and it's like, wait, he did that. Now a lot more is in a name, and that's why Africans have the pride they have. And who's the most arrogant people, I think? If you've ever met these people, you may agree.
Ethiopians,
No,
Ethiopians.
they may be number two or three, but I think
Okay.
Trinidadians, with that small little island, you can meet a Trini from anywhere, and they'll let you know, I'm a Trini from the taxi cab. I got a taxi cab. My brother actually invented taxi cabs. You're like, come on, man, your brother invented taxi cabs. Like, Trinis are arrogant. But you gotta
Uh,
respect it because they respect their culture, and then Ethiopians and whatnot. But why not? Ethiopia does a great job on PR of their culture, of their history.
yeah.
So you gotta respect it. I love it. Anybody who controls their narrative nowadays, to me, they're winning. Even if you're a bum, control your narrative, because done are the days of black people in America. I'm just a poor black person, and I never had a chance, and oh, I didn't have a dad, didn't have a mom. I used to
Yeah.
mentor kids in orphanages. They didn't have none of that, and some of them still we could get into school. So it's about what you want to be. So what? You didn't have any of that. Write a book about it. Make $1 million while you're young, and keep pushing.
Well, here's the thing. We talked about it a little bit earlier. Is that you got to kind of. There's feedback on the line, man. I hear myself talking.
Okay, hold on. Let me see. Let me see if I didn't move anything, but how was
Okay,
that?
I still hear myself.
Okay, let me see. I'm trying to adjust. Anything?
Okay,
Is that better?
a little bit.
Okay, I apologize. I
Just a
know
little
that's
bit.
annoying, but I
Yeah.
didn't touch anything.
No, no, it's okay. No, I was just saying that sometimes it sounds crazy, and I mean your family, your friends are gonna think you're a nut. But if you can, on top of that, man, if you could, sometimes leaving your home country allows you to think a little bit more clear. I mean, there might be a dynamic, man. Sometimes when people leave their home countries, they actually do better in foreign lands than they do in their own homeland, for various reasons, man. But the thing is like you're gonna know if you're really cut out to be an entrepreneur. Because, for example, if you go to a foreign country, I mean, some foreign countries there is no you're all on your own, man. If you don't kill it, you don't you don't you don't eat. I'm saying so you'll know if you have it to be an entrepreneur when there's no safety nets for you, and you're all on your own. You'll figure it out. And if you're not made for it, you'll figure out what your blood type is really fast. Um, yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a good test to figure out whether or not you're ready or not. Because it's going to get real complicated and real hairy, and you just gotta. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out, man. You'll figure it out. Um, but you gotta keep pushing. And the thing is like going overseas is not as scary as people think it is. Um, it's just if you want it bad enough. I mean, the thing is like you got to look at the economics. You got to look at the economics. You got to look at what you're spending for in the United States, and what that's costing you, and where that money, if you live somewhere else, if you could reduce your living cost, what you can reinvest into your dream. So that's really important. And another thing is, I mean, to all everybody's listening, they're young, they're not even 18 yet, man. start a business. You're in your parents' house, start a business. You don't want to wait until your 20s and your 30s, and people tell you, oh, you might not know, you don't know this, you don't know that. You know, I mean, that's the excuse. But you start when you're young. The younger you are, the better off it is because you don't have as much of a burden of how you're gonna pay for your living. You know, so the younger is always the better when you're trying to start a business or do something. I mean, college is always going to be there. I tell everybody that college is always going to be there, but those opportunities in the market won't always be there.
Well,
So,
you said a bad word. You said college, and I
uh,
say that's a bad word because most people don't go to college for the right reasons.
no, they don't.
And you also said something about leaving home. I'll tell people it's Mark 6:4. A prophet is without honor in his hometown. You ain't get no love. Let me ebonics that up. You ain't get no love at home, right? you
Yeah,
ain't you ain't you ain't getting that respect that like Nipsey Hussle said that you were great. You just didn't have a platform. You got to leave home to get that. Everybody who
yeah,
stays home, you ain't getting that. But college is a bad word because many people, and I'm guilty of this, right? It just happened to work out. But many people went to school for the wrong reasons. You went to school for something you could have learned on lynda.com. You went to school
mhm,
for something if you read enough books, you would have learned. I was teaching at a certain level in college, probably all through college, because there were
uh-huh,
certain things I was reading that I was interested in that I could master. But if you're going to go to college now, and if any parents are listening, tell your kids go to college for something you can't learn at home that no one else
yeah.
can teach you. You know,
That's a good
yeah.
point. But no, I mean the thing is that I mean when you're young, the point I'm trying to make is 16, 15, 16, 17 years old. I mean, build a startup, man. Build a startup. Do something creative. Build a company if you have that entrepreneurial spark. Don't feel as though you have to go to college to learn how to be an entrepreneur because a lot of that is just experience and a lot of that is just being very creative and also putting good people around you. That's a big part of it. But what I was saying, my point is that your parents are paying the rent, paying the mortgage. So
Hmm.
you take advantage of that until they say you got to go. Somewhere around 18 or 19 years old, it's time to go out into the world and spread your wings. But there's nothing wrong with building something, and if you fail, hey, you got a lot of good experience. But for me in college, man, oh man, I had almost every major. I was looking for something that I really liked. But entrepreneurship, I ended up on entrepreneurship because I found that in entrepreneurship, I have to know a little bit about everything. Which you can't get bored. You can't get bored that way. I was very bored, man. When I used to study legal studies, very bored, man. I used to sleep in the law library, man, many nights.
Hey,
I used to,
so you were picking college like
uh,
people pick women or spouses. Let's just say so the
uh,
ladies have something. Oh, it looks good, it sounds good, but once you start getting into it, you're like, hold on, this is boring. It doesn't agree with my spirit. I'd rather sit on the rooftop than be in this classroom and whatnot. I can do busy work all day, but it prepares you to do busy work at a job and not solve problems. And that's why once you have to always give this warning. Once you become an entrepreneur, you
you can't
almost
turn
become
back.
unhireable to
That's right.
corporate because your thought process is how do I fix this and make it cheaper and quicker while they're used to the status quo because they've been doing it for 50 years that way. You know.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there is. I mean, there is like a dynamic when you're an entrepreneur, especially when you start hiring team members. The thing is like if you have someone who has some experience, business experience, they're trained in a profession. There might be sometimes a little bit of a clash. But you got to understand that entrepreneurs are very creative. They're very creative and they're driven by creating something the customer will love, and they're driven by getting to the next plateau. So a person who has maybe an MBA may not, necessarily, see the same thing you see. But you got to keep in mind that entrepreneurs and MBAs, they actually need each other, man. They actually complement each other. They, so one because there's some things that MBAs know that entrepreneurs don't know, and there's some things that entrepreneurs know that MBAs have no clue. So I mean, they complement each other. I mean, it's a lot of things that you learn. I mean, I think the biggest thing is to you know get a great team and get some great people beside you that can help you build out what you're doing.
And
Um,
when you say a team, you got to put this out there because we're both
mhm,
consultants. You got to pay your team.
that's
Don't
right.
come for just let me get help or what I call don't call to pick my brain, whatnot. You want to pick my brain? Islam will tell you call me on Facebook. Let's put this on Anchor FM for the people, whatnot.
Uh-huh.
Because we don't all have forever. None of us have forever. But when you're coming and you really want the thoughts, like I like when people say, "Hey, you're really smart." Yeah, I knew that. I've known that forever, but I don't see that. I don't see myself as being, Socrates. Maybe I'm Black Socrates. I don't know. But but if we're gonna focus on business, let it be business because we want to help everyone, but you don't have that much time in a day. And as
No.
entrepreneurs, sometimes all we can do is talk at, it's 1 a.m. for you. I have no clue. What is it? It's almost midnight here.
2 a.m. here. It's 2 a.m. This is Central Time.
Okay, yeah. I don't carry a watch. Like unless I have to be somewhere and it's in my phone, and I have shared calendars with so many people. I don't, when you call me, it's like, hey, if I'm free, I talk. I do take care of the kids, but that's the life that I chose while my wife is pursuing her last couple years of training, and that's real stressful. I can't wait to. I don't know if I told you I'm going to Ethiopia in August.
No, you didn't tell me.
Yeah, Cameroon. I'm going in the summer, and then in August for a week, I'm gonna go to Ethiopia unless we can extend it. And I can't wait to get out there. I got I'm practicing every day. My Aramaic and trying to get it because they're gonna
Uh,
think you've been to I know Djibouti. Have you been to Ethiopia?
yeah.
Yeah.
No, Djibouti. No, I've been close there, but I haven't been. No, I haven't been to Ethiopia yet. But
Okay.
they do. When I yeah, I remember when I walked into a 7-Eleven, man, a girl started speaking Ethiopian to me, and I said, "Oh, I don't know what you're talking about." She said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were from my country."
I mean, you know this because I asked you when I said, "Are you sure you're not Ethiopian or Somali or anything?" But when you're in Colombia, you could be there. Like you got one of those looks where you could fit in wherever you need to fit in.
Hey, I'm trying to tell you, yeah, like let me put it like this: like you see guys from France and the United States, and I'm sitting there, man. I got a wad full of cash, man, and you got people from like Cartagena, Santa Marta, Cartagena, trying to sell these people, stuff while we're sitting in the restaurant, right?
Uh
And I'm sitting right next because they're Americans. They think that they got money and they from
huh.
France and Europe,
Yeah.
right? So I'm sitting right there with a wad of cash, man. This guy has no clue. He just passed. I mean, I'm eating my food in peace, man. And then I get up at the end and I say, "Hey, man," I start speaking English, right?
Yeah.
And the guy, and you should see this. You should see the guy's, the salesperson's face, man. He's almost shocked. And then he looks at me. He says, "Wait," he says, "Where are you from?" I said, I'm from the Estados Unidos. I'm from America." He says, "Oh, okay, okay. All right, well, he doesn't know what to say, man, because he thought all along that I was from Colombia.
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah.
And all my friends from other parts of the world, they said, "Man, I wish, man, you have it easy, man. I like these guys run up on me all the time, but they, from afar, you look like a Colombian until you start speaking English, man. That's what they tell me."
But and that's a great thing. I mean, the CIA, I'm sure, they come knock on your door, former military, if you can pass the psych. I wish I could. I wish I could pretend I could, but done too much. But where do your have you done your roots? Like, do you know where your roots go to?
Well, yeah, I mean, we're mixed, man. Like we're mixed. Like there's some people from the islands on my
Mm,
mother's side, like
mm-hmm.
Barbados. Yeah, Barbados is a big one. There's a lot of Indian. There's definitely black. There's some Irish. I even heard there's some Italian. But yeah, man. I mean, we're mixed, and that's what they are here. They're mixed.
Yeah.
You
You
know.
you haven't done a
So that's why
DNA?
I did a DNA on my father's side in one time a long time ago, and I think it was northeast Africa on my father's side.
Okay.
I haven't done my mother's side, which was I that was very interesting. But like I have pictures, man. Like as people have, like high cheekbones. I mean, they're Indian people, man. They're Indian native Indians.
Mm-hmm.
The native Indians. They're. I mean, there was a lot of black native Indians, man.
Yeah.
High
Yeah.
cheekbones, long jet black hair. I mean, it's I mean, I'm mixed, man. There's white people in my family on my mother's side. I mean, I'm a mixed guy. That's what makes me fit into Colombia so well. And that's what essentially they are here, man. They're mixed. The only thing is they speak Spanish. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, now you got to do that. You got to. I'd be interested because you can do. You must have did like African ancestry if you were talking about your mother's side or your father's
Yeah,
side.
I did my father's side for
That
they did say Northeast Africa, which makes sense because the Ethiopian and the northern part. It makes sense.
no disrespect to African ancestry at all. They denied coming on one of my client shows. Just full disclosure, their PR person and I talked to the owner and they pushed me to the PR person. But I'm gonna say it. What do I got to lose? They already denied me, so I don't care, right? But I can find the same thing that they find. Um, through GEDmatch, using the ancestry, and I can find the different tribes, and GEDmatch is free, and you choose to pay the little $10 extra as a donation, but I have
Okay.
the tribes that I'm from. They actually gave me more than people who have paid, to say, oh, you're only from this one tribe, because we're all kind of mixed, right?
That's right.
From if you're in America and you were born here, you probably have some mixed blood unless your parents are they know exactly, but they still could be mixed. You don't know.
That's right.
The world is a mixture. People are getting it in left and right. It ain't. I mean, this Morgan Freeman and all this other stuff. This ain't nothing new. Old men have been old men for a long time. And I'm gonna always blame the men because I just understand, we've been creeping in and out of windows and bushes and trees and some of that has been with approval and without approval. I mean, if we're
Oh
honest,
man.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, you should do the pay the little $99 for ancestry and then
Mhm.
do the JED match and because they match up and just see. Because I could imagine growing up people telling you you're not black, you're
Oh
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I've heard that before, man.
Eh,
I've heard that. It's kind of you know I get that, and I also get you know because I speak I guess proper or whatever. I don't know, man. That which is kind of offensive if you think about it.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but I mean, because you think about it, like, what is a black person supposed to sound like, man?
yeah.
Like, what is he supposed to sound? I mean, what's a black person sound like?
But they
So
only mean that
I
about
mean,
black Americans unless they expect you to have an African accent because they're brought up in, most a different system, European type system, whether it be French, Britain, or whatnot. But what are we supposed to sound like? But I think I'm going to put it back on us. We do that to us more than the
that's right.
outside. You know what I mean?
That's right.
I don't
That's
give
right.
white folks that much intelligence oh, you guys sound proper. They don't say that to us. We say that to us.
Yeah, that's true. Black people do say that to each other as far as I've heard that mostly from from black people. Oh yeah, you don't look black. What does a black person look like? I mean, what I mean, like I don't. I mean, for a person who's been around, I've been in about 13 countries, man, and I mean, like you know, there are a lot of similarities. I mean, there's more similarities between people than we realize, man.
People are
And that's only
people. People are people, and black people are really black people. Cause you could go anywhere in the world and you're like, y'all do this too. Whether it's, I believe in stereotypes a lot of times. Whether it's coming up on time to an event, we're just, you know,
late, man, late.
late, how we view relationships and even speech, because there's sometimes, like, other cultures could take something as being aggressive. To many black folk around the world, is that's just how we talk. And it's not just us, because even the Chinese, they can come off aggressive sometimes, but you don't speak Mandarin or Cantonese, so you wouldn't know. But if you got to know people and travel, you would be like, dang, they just as crazy as us. These must be the
Yeah,
black people of Asia.
yeah. I mean, it's but I tell you, I do respect and I do like the way that they do business, man. I think that's their blood type, man. I think they do business very well. I've watched series of documentaries in China, and I respect and I honor the way they do business, man. I mean, it's awesome, man. I mean, over in China, man, I watched one documentary. They actually have so much money running through that country that I think it's in Shenzhen, or I mean, they actually have VC investors actually looking for opportunities with startups, man. I mean, I think there's like I don't know what the number is, but there's hundreds, if not even thousands, of startups that are starting up in China every. But I mean, they have a big population too, so but there's a lot of them that start, and people are looking. They out there looking to put money in these people's hands, man. They're making deals with these startups. Like they go. It's not like in the U.S. where you got to go run and look for these people necessarily, or you got to build your company to a certain stage and then they come look for you. It's a little bit different in China, man. I mean, their economy is. I mean, I don't know, man.
It's
If you
booming.
compare if
It's
you compare China and America, I mean, like we're kind of in trouble, man. I mean, like let me put it like this: I've seen more Chinese people in Colombia than I've trying to do business than I have Americans. I'll say that.
because there's so that business, when it's in your blood, they say it's in you, not on you. And even their prisoners are going to Africa creating businesses. You know, and
Wow.
because a lot of those people in Africa that who are doing like real manual labor, those are former prisoners. People can Google and fact check that, and then after a certain while, China is gonna release you from whatever you owed or whatnot. But they know they have a population that's out of this world. But they also aren't glued to the internet all day watching Real Housewives of Xing Xing. And they don't. They might pick up a book. I was showing this earlier on and saying people don't we don't read enough about our culture. We only read what they want us to read, but we don't read
Yeah.
about African civilization, where I'm not saying they're all scholars, because that's a terrible stereotype, but it's a great one to have. But pick up a book. The rest of the world is still
Right.
reading, while
Right.
we're sitting and watching Real House Whores of whatever, Kentucky. I mean, I gotta be nice, because Islam, he has an image to keep up. I got nothing to lose. I'm Donald Trump. I got nothing. You're right, Donald. I got nothing to lose. Give it to me. I'm going for the gusto. Like today is the last day, and so it's all I got is script. All I got is scripture, and it's hard to keep up with that. You know what I mean? but we don't know what hour is going to come. So they're reading more. The rest of the world is reading more, and they're putting into place, and they don't have some of the barriers that I'll just say for black folks or even Americans have, because we're so worried about who slept with who in 1920 and who has good hair while they're ready to sell us something, whatever good hair is. So we
Oh man.
people people talk about like Asians and they're like, oh, they have no curves or they don't have the blonde hair, this and that. But go to them and see what savings they have and how they still as a family will live in one house until someone can buy a house cash in California
That's right.
and then buy another one and talk about the curves they don't have. You can buy curves nowadays. This is the twilight zone. But,
Yeah.
can you buy a $2 million house because you came together? And that's where black folk lack, because we rather go, like you said, $40,000, two lots. That's too much. But $40,000 Lexus, that makes sense.
It's just priorities, man. I mean, that's it. It's just priorities. I mean, man, I would tell any entrepreneur, man, back to entrepreneurship, man, go overseas, man, explore, learn. Before I think it's before Steve Jobs created Apple, he went to India and he spent time in India. I mean, you get so much more clarity when you're overseas and you're just like, you know, you just chill, man. Like I wake up to mountains every morning, man. Mountains and I mean, beautiful sunrise, rolling clouds. I mean, all that, I mean, it rains a lot here, so I get that peace from that. But yeah, you get so much clarity, man, from just being overseas and not having to worry about, paying like $200 bills, electricity bills, gas bill. I mean, somebody just put a boot on my car. I mean, like the stuff that we worry about, in the states, man. It's a lot of stress, man. I mean, I remember when I had a BlackBerry, man. I thought it was the best thing ever, man. I remember Sprint gave me that. I think my bill was like $250 a month for my BlackBerry cell phone. And now I think about if you just add one extra $100 to that phone bill I had back in the early 2000s, that's what I paid for my rent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just,
And you
it's
don't have a
crazy, man.
car.
And I don't have a car. I got a bicycle.
Yeah,
I got a bicycle.
and anybody, if you were in the States, unless you're in New York or somewhere, they'd laugh at you talking about you got a bicycle and you trying to go out with me. Wait, you got a bicycle and you trying to you trying to do some business with who? You know what I mean? It's just
Hey,
it's huh.
But Kellen, check this out, man. I actually picked up my girlfriend with my bicycle, man. I
Wow.
rode up on her with a bicycle, man,
And it wasn't weird.
and I got the number. I got the number and got the date with a bicycle, man.
So that I mean, is it clarify? Is it me? If you did that in Georgia, what would happen?
Man, if I did that in any state in America, just think about it.
Oh
you know,
man,
you
man.
know, yeah,
Hey,
man.
we
It's
we used to, just when we would holler at them just for fun, like maybe middle school you could get away with that, but anybody to high school, even if you weren't able to drive, you better find a friend who can drive because I don't know, when we were all walking, that's one thing, but as adults, there's women who would laugh at you hard, like a bicycle, you ain't got no car. So that's amazing. But
but
hmm,
it's just the lesson, Kellen, is that you got people who are right now who are billionaires, man, who wear what Adidas or sneakers and a T-shirt, man. You know, and I mean, think about that, man. I mean, you got people. Man, I know a guy. Matter of fact, I know a guy who's uh, a multi-millionaire now because his father turned the company over to him. And you look at this guy, you would never think in 1,000 years, man. Not in 1,000 years, this guy's net worth. You would never figure it out, man. If you saw this guy, never,
And you're not
never,
supposed to, because anybody
never.
who has two pennies to really rub together to do what they want would not tell you. It's only the rapper. It's only it's only the folks who are buying prop money who are
Uh,
holding it up. You think of someone like, I mean, any rapper you could think of, and then they declare bankruptcy. I almost said a name, but it was too close. I didn't want to throw anyone's personal business, but it's like anybody that has even oil money, in Texas, people who really have oil money for real, they wouldn't go around telling you. It's all the folks who are from poverty who have to throw it, oh yeah, and I did this and I did that. But anybody who has real money doesn't want to tell you, because you're going to ask for it as soon as they tell you.
hey, what happened with what did Jay Z said? You know, he says you guys are on the gram holding money to your ear.
Oh
He
yeah,
says, "Where
yeah.
I'm from, we don't call that money
No.
around here."
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah, man.
and don't get it twisted. I still would call that money because somebody got a brick right here, right? We can do something
Uh,
with that. That can pay payroll, but but it's just that to do that for me. I've never thrown money out outside of being maybe 20. I think about someone trying to rob you if you have too
yeah,
much. You know what I mean? I used to show currency when I first started traveling. You show a couple of dollars, whatnot, just to show, hey, it's a different currency, think different. But the robbery, if you had, I know guys who are for their videos getting that $500,000 prop money, spending 2 grand or whatever. And if you guys need some prop money, we can definitely sell you some prop money. But why show a bag of prop money when folks are really hungry and starving? And we know in the third world, people do crazy things for money if they think you got a little bit. But even in
right,
the first world, if they think their life is going to change, folks have lost their life over prop money. Prop money. I keep a track of all the horrible stories given some of the clients that we have, but it's like fake money killed for. Uh, Fake weed killed for, fake Xanax killed for what? So somebody who you don't even like will like you. So anybody who has real bread isn't throwing it out. And when you're doing that at the strip club, when you see Mayweather and them do that, don't always believe the hype.
but you know what it is, man. You know what it is.
Huh.
It's holes in the jeans, man. You know, it's
Mm.
holes in the jeans.
Mm.
You know, I mean, it's just a you're just a normal person, man. I mean, money has its place, man. But there's a difference between, I think, old money and new money, man. You know, I think old money is the money that was more conservative, man. You know, they drove the old Volkswagen. You know, but you go to their house, the house is slamming. You know, they drove the old Volkswagen with some Dockers on, and Salvation Army clothes, man. You know, but you know it's different, man. New money is they flash and show everything. You know,
That they don't
but that
have. Did you?
well, that's an expense, man. It's an expense, and also you got to think about it, man. You got to think about what you're doing, man. First of all, you know, I mean, think about it. I mean, why would you want to do that? Why would you want? I mean, people are not going to like you. Well, they're not really going to like you, it's not natural, man. You're doing it because of because of money, man. Right?
Did you see Bakari Sellers? I think it was Bakari Sellers on the Breakfast Club recently.
But is that the rapper? Who's that?
No, Bakari
Sorry.
Sellers is the former politician out of South Carolina, and now
Uh,
he's a lawyer and he works heavy with like the Clintons and whatnot. But they were talking
uh,
about how Puffy wanted to buy the football team and how he wasn't liquid enough, so he had to partner up. And he was saying how you need basically 800 million to a billion to do, which black person has that liquid. And that's the biggest thing that most people are like, liquid, what do you mean? Like you grind the money up in like
cash,
the
man.
Vitamix or something?
Cash.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cash money. And they're like, with Oprah being worth, whatever billion, 3 billion, she only may be liquid 800 million. So she wouldn't have any more money. Now we don't know, right? But this is Bakari Sellers who's working with all these people, and he's saying this, but that is true because we could say Warren Buffett has this much money, but he's giving away so much money. How much is he liquid? I think Warren Buffett plays the mathematical game to the point where I don't want to be worth too much to kill you. You know what I mean? And that's your kids. So him and Bill Gates play this game, but how liquid is a billionaire? Trump says he's so rich, but even he needed investors all this time. So people have to think, what is liquid money? We know
Asset.
huh?
Well, a lot of these people are probably asset rich, man. There's a difference between asset rich and cash rich.
It's all an illusion. It's all you get $1 million and they tax you 350, and then you got to pay another 50. That's 400,000. All of
That's
this is
right.
an illusion. You ain't no millionaire anymore. I like when Erica Badu said that years ago.
Yeah.
And she broke
What's
it
she
down.
say?
Huh? She said, get $1 million, and then she talked about the tax, and she said, still a nigga broke, because
Yeah.
you ain't a millionaire anymore. But she didn't even put in the federal, or the state.
Uh-huh.
She missed one of those, and so it's like people forget $1 million ain't anything. As far
Well,
as
I
when you're
think.
talking about real wealth.
Well, I think. I mean, I think that's the reason why learning entrepreneurship and learning, you don't necessarily. Well, you never know. I mean, it might be a good idea to learn the big business part of it too. The big business part of it will help you be able to, you know, deal with those issues that may come up later on. I mean, the big business mindset of how things really work on the world scheme is it's not a bad thing, man. I mean these it depends, man. It depends. If you're listen, if I think that if you're building a business and you're hiring people and you're helping the state, you're partnering with the states, you're partnering with the federal government, employing people. I think there's benefits for that. Um,
That's more of a
it,
benefit than the money. At least to me and us is how can you employ the people, especially those who couldn't be employed? Because I remember one of my OGs, rednecks, put me on some
uh,
game, and he said, he sells movies. He like films movies, and he said, I only want to sell 100,000 copies at $10,000 a piece. I'm good. He's like, and then my life goes on and I get to enjoy life. And he's telling me this in Lubbock, Texas. And I'm like, here we think we have to sell so many movies. You know how many movies I've sold for clients I thought about? And I said, I never thought about it like that. And I'm like, I got to start doing my own movies. Forget selling movies for clients, but I've sold movies in Europe and gone through whatever so quick because American movies sell so quick. Nigerian movies sell so quick. And if you have a system, it's easy to sell something. But you sell 100,000 at 10 a piece, whether it's music, movies, or books or whatever. You might have money to you, but now how many people can you employ? How many $40,000 checks can you write in the year? How many $12,000 checks? Let's start there. And that's more of a benefit, especially for that's just my thing. But, what is money? To buy more cars? I'd love to go buy all the fancy cars, but if all my people around me don't have the basics, we've lost. So you had all the cars in the world. Guess what? People are always going to double your cars. And it's a higher
Well,
consciousness.
yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I think, man, the whole car thing. I mean, the Egyptians tried it, man. Not taking cars with them, but they tried to take their riches with them. I don't think that. I mean, I think the real jewels are, building something that people enjoy, man, and also building something that that can help other people feed their families, etc., etc. I don't really think all the cars. I mean, I don't know where you would find the time to drive them all, but you know, I mean, essentially none of this stuff goes with us when we leave, man. So the idea is that to make the world a better place, man, and that might sound like kumbaya, but it's true, you know.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong. Everyone has their collections of what they like to collect and all that. If you're Jay Leno and you like to collect 100 cars, because now his cars are actually worth, a lot
Oh, it's
more
an
money.
asset.
It's an
Well,
asset. But most people don't have a collection like Jay Leno's. They just
nah,
have whatever they think is going to impress people, because he has cars that people would pass by on the street and say, I don't want no Studebaker, and his Studebaker is worth more than their house. But there's a way. Like, I like art, and so if
yep,
anyone does ever come to a spot that I live at, they're like, oh, that's a whatchamacallit. I'm like, it is what it is. Is that real? Just enjoy the art, because a lot of my pieces are personal pieces. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There are some, there is a, I'll say not some, there is a, what I call a fancy one by name, but people don't, oh, that's a reprint of this and that. Okay, it can be that, but people don't even know that you can get a Picasso, and Picasso has some original works that ain't all that it is what it is. But
yeah. I like.
yeah,
Go ahead.
a
Go ahead.
little piece of a Picasso you could have, something he just scribbled on. But I like the art. I like Nigerian movies. To me, that's a collection that I
Yeah,
have the biggest collection for anybody that doesn't sell movies. So if there's a collection that you like, we all have our things we like to
that's
collect.
right.
But just to have Maseratis and Lambos and Aston Martins, so Cribs can come show you, man, I rent all that to show you it can look rich, you know.
Yeah,
What
but
is huh?
I didn't know you were into art, man. You'd be surprised. I'll say this. You'd be surprised of what you'll find as far as artwork overseas, man. South America. I mean, you'd be surprised. I mean, there was. Have you ever heard of the Man in the Hat?
I think
The Picasso,
yeah.
Picasso, man. Well, they were selling that. They were selling that in a private collection in Colombia, man. Picasso, the Man in the Hat. They were also selling. You ever heard of an artist called Frida?
Yeah.
Okay, they were also selling some of her work in Colombia. I mean, you'd be surprised, man. Like what I mean, like old cars, man, like old Chevys, 30s Chevys. I mean, like Bonnie and Clyde type cars, man. You'd be surprised. I remember probably about over a year ago now. I see, what a Shelby. You ever see a Shelby convertible?
Yeah.
Man, I seen a Shelby convertible car at the park, and I could not believe it. I was in total shock because that car is worth a lot of money, man.
Yeah,
The roaster,
yeah,
the old one.
yeah, yeah. I know what you're talking about. That's a beautiful car. Most people would not know, but if you showed them a Model T, most people would say that's a piece of junk. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's a Model T, and it's not anything. But see, art is one of those things where it doesn't always have to be the big things. I say some of my clothing is art because people say, what is that? It's the same thing you might find in Neiman Marcus, but I got it straight from, wherever, right? So clothing, all that, art is it is what you wanted to make it. I could write on this blue canvas and say this is art, and Banksy wrote on it, right? But I like art, but it has to mean something to me more than anything else. It's like if you look at there's a documentary on Netflix. I believe it's on Netflix. I just watched it, and it was talking about the African mask and how to see a real African mask, you have to go to Europe because they bought it all. And now everything else is just fetish and fake and whatnot. But those things are art pieces. I won't keep that stuff in my house personally because that got something else on it, possibly. That's somebody's real juju that when you get into the black magic, whatnot, I choose to study the scriptures more than that because it can get too deep, and I'll let my 33rds and all my other traveling men go real deep on that stuff. I'm cool, man. I'm cool. I don't need all these charms and everything. Give me the scripture and I'm straight because I'm struggling with my own stuff. I don't need to be astroturfing throughout life and just floating. Yeah, I know something about it, but I don't want it in me, even if it's been on me. So, but art, I like art. So whatever art is to you, because computers and cell phones, that BlackBerry, if you still have it, that's gonna be art to somebody at
Yeah,
some
maybe
point.
in 1,000 years, man.
Hey, if you know what the Virtu phone is,
No, what's that?
it's a real expensive, overpriced phone, whatnot, but it's like thousands of dollars, but people still have them, especially if you got them years ago. But people, that phone is worth thousands of dollars now. VERTU, right? That BlackBerry, we don't know if tomorrow people say that's an ancient ruin. I was talking to a lady today who was still on a home phone. I'm like, you still got a home phone? And she was like, yeah, just, and she's like, I've almost got a cord on it. And I just started laughing. And I know her and I are going to be friends because I said, I like what she said. She's a PR person. We were talking about some interviews and whatnot for my clients. And it's like, you got a home phone. Like, I look at home phones like, that's art. I should get one of those. Those are so cute, you know,
Uh,
especially like the dial, because I remember when we had the dial,
that's right.
we had the old school dial, which was an art piece just for the house. I mean, I ain't that old. It ain't no Dorian Gray story, but but we had that. So I'm glad we got to talk about this. I know it's 2 a.m. and I know you could be up
No,
all
it's okay.
night, but I want to give the people who do tune into this, who do enjoy this stuff, I want them to soak all this in because we got so much game, especially about Colombia, that they need to hit you up. And if you can give your best form of contact, if someone says, I want to go to Colombia, I never knew anyone there, how can people contact you?
No, they can hit me up on Twitter. Islam McNeil. That's like the best way. You know, Twitter. Um, yeah, Twitter's a good way.
Okay.
Um, yeah,
It,
I don't want to get my number out.
No, no, don't do that because you'd have my problems having to answer 100 emails a day and figuring out a system and hiring somebody to help you. So don't do that. But if anyone has a serious business, and whether you see this on Anchor FM, YouTube, Facebook, whatever the case, you can inbox me. And if you say, hey, I got some real business for Colombia, I can definitely connect you with them. Just know Islam may be in Colombia, but it doesn't mean that he's getting paid in Colombia. Is it pesos out there?
Yeah, it's pesos
Yeah,
out here.
yeah, you ain't paying him in no small pesos, so he won't hit you over the head all the way, but he's an American at the end of the day. So pay him like an American, a bilingual American who's former military. So, but for that I want to just sign off so we have a good body of work. And we're gonna talk, brother. So I probably hit you after this and we'll
Okay.
wrap, but we can't give them too much.
Okay.
All right.